Hello, friends, and welcome. Today I have for you an iconic fountain pen. This isn't your average vintage fountain pen. It is the famous Sheaffer's Balance White Dot Jade Green from 1929. This is it, folks. This is the fountain pen which launched a trend in the fountain pen world. In the 1920s, we had design this tubular, very practical fountain pens. In general, they were lever fillers. They were quite practical, but also boring as a design. You can see the cylindrical, plain fountain pen from the 1920s. This came for the first time in 1929, and not only it had the beautiful celluloid, because Sheaffer was a pioneer in the celluloid material. They used it for the first time in 1924. But with this model, which came in 1929, they led the industry to the new level of the beautiful, beautiful celluloid. Unfortunately, with this model, we have a problem of discoloration. And in this light, you can see that this green is darker than the original green. You have this green. And also on the cap, we have the discoloration, and you can see the bright and beautiful jade at the top. The discoloration was due to the sulfur leaking ink sacs, and they were quite a problem with the Sheaffer Balance line. This line was produced between 1929 and 1941. As always, we will start with the analysis of the cap of the fountain pen. We'll start with the interesting shape of the clip. It is a beautiful shape of the clip. It ends in a ball. This is gold plated. You can see the quality of the gold plating. This is a 1929, 1930s fountain pen, and it reaches our time with this immaculate gold plating of the clip. It is simply beautiful. On the clip, we have Sheaffer's. So the company was a family-owned business, and that's why we have on the clip the name Sheaffer's. It refers to the multiple members of the family. In the 1960s, on the fountain pens, we will see only Sheaffer written. This white dot is interesting characteristics of the Sheaffer fountain pens. All the pens which have the white dot, they were warranted for a lifetime. Of course, Sheaffer is not the first fountain pen firm that used this white dot to distinguish their high-end products from another products. This white dot was, I believe, I've read somewhere that this white dot was first used in the British fountain pen industry. You can see this beautiful domed shape. Look at the gorgeousness of the jade green. This is beautiful. Unfortunately, at the end of the cap, you can see the discoloration. You also may notice this breathing hole. We have one on this side and one on the other side. So if I open the fountain pen, you can see clear that the light passes through. These were characteristics of the fountain pens from the 1930s, 1940s. It had a role of equalizing the pressure in the cap. We also have this beautiful gold band at the end. An unfortunate design from that period. You can see that the end has this quite thin layer, and this is prone to cracks in time because it is very, very delicate. So when you search for a vintage Sheaffer, look at this part and check it for cracks or other stuff like this. Of course, this band was meant to prevent those cracks, but it was designed in such a way that you can see the line, and this thickens right here, and it's prone to, let's say, accidents in time. We continue with the barrel. We can see the lever here, and for me it's quite difficult to pull this lever. I have to use my fingernail. It ends in this rather thin, so it's not quite symmetrical. As you can see, this is thicker and this is narrower. So it reminds me of the desk pens, which end in this particular shape. Maybe this was a source of inspiration for the designers in the late 1920s for this particular shape. I want to show you the imprints. We have W.A. Sheaffer Pen Company. So remember, not Sheaffers, but the official name is the Sheaffer Pen Company. Fort Madison, Iowa, USA. Patent D, and the patent is pending. So this particular fountain pen is an early version of the Balance fountain pen. Why? Because the patent is still pending, so it wasn't released yet. And this makes it an early version. The cap is a screw cap. We put this here, and it reveals this small grip section. It is quite small, and you may touch these rigid things here, but they don't bother you because they act like a gripping point, so you hold it quite secure. Of course, the ending, the concave ending of the grip section also helps with the secure holding in your hands. And now I want to show you something beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. The Sheaffer gold nib. This is quite a big gold nib. I think it's size 6. You notice this beautiful, beautiful breather hole in the form of a heart. And the imprint. So we have Sheaffers, not Sheaffer, but Sheaffers imprinted on it. The fact that it's a lifetime, so it is their top of the line product. Registered US patent of made in USA. And we have a serial number 2927266. I know that not all of my viewers like the history lessons, but this is a fascinating story about these numberings. Of course, we have no record of these numberings, but they are linked to a time in the history of American industry fountain pens. This is my theory. Sheaffer had a long distribution chain for these fountain pens, and many of their distributors had aggressive selling techniques. So, when they entered the partnership between Sheaffer and them, the Sheaffer regulated the price and told them, you must sell this top product at this value. But sometimes the partners of Sheaffer, the distributors, offer them at a discount. So, in order for Sheaffer to regulate the price, they mark them with different numbers. And those numbers were meant to track them down. So, for example, 29 was specific to a special distributor in a special part of the US. After they did that, they noticed that on the market appeared some products of there, at a discount price, of course, which had these serial numbers erased. What was their response to this? Believe me, they imprinted also this serial number or at the end, at the back of the nib, the making more difficult for erasing it because the distributors had to take the nib off and erase the front of the nib and also the end of the nib. This was mentioned in an important legal battle between the Sheaffer Pen Company and the distributor, the Katz Drug Company. It was an interesting battle in the 1920s between a large distributor which wasn't the official distributor of Sheaffer. So Sheaffer said that by erasing the numbers and selling them at a discounted price, they modified their products. And the Cats argued that the Sheaffer Pine Company was meddling with the market and tried to set its own pace, which of course was illegal. At the end, they reached an agreement. The Cats were able to sell the products of the Sheaffer, but not the top line, the lifetime line, but middle line from their products. Interesting that during this process, we have the son, one of the Sheaffer's CEOs, swearing on court that these numbers had no connection with the practice of regulating and practically overseeing the distribution of those fountain pens. It is quite an interesting story, and most of us think that we can decipher these codes if their numbers are strictly sequential. At least we can date when there was made. They represent a code, and some people thought that this was a pure marketing gimmick to hook, to make the consumers believe their pens are so special that each one has an individual identity. The question of the facts that they are also marked on one side and on the other side, it is a clear fact that Sheaffer wanted to oversee their distribution. So we are talking about commercial battles in the 1930s, interesting battles. Okay, this was my little story about the numeric codes on the nibs. We now go to the beautiful ebonite feed. It is a flat feed, as you see, and a plain looking feed, but a large one, as you can see. This particular model needs a new sac, but unfortunately I don't know how to replace the sac and I don't have sacs, but I've managed to open it, and you can see the remains of the sac. It was an old sac. It still remains here. This is the section, the grape section, and this is the barrel. And I have here a mobile phone which has a lantern because I want to illuminate the interior of the fountain pen. You can hopefully see the lever. Yes, you can see it. Practically it's a lever, and you install a sac, and when you pull the lever, I said it's quite difficult to look. It's springy, but yes, I've managed. So you simply push. I want to show you. You can see that this, if it were a sack there, it makes pressure on the sack and the sack pulls the ink. This is the system. Of course, I will do a writing sample, but I will just dip it in ink. Till then, I want to make side-by-side comparison with other fountain pen models. So this fountain pen is a new fountain pen, but in the shape of the old flat tops from the 1920s. This particular model is a Sheaffer No Nonsense old timer Le Black with no trims on it. This is the classic from 1929, the Sheaffer Balance Jade Green Lifetime, because it has this white dot on it. I also have a 1930s German fountain pen, so you can see the classical form, also a Pelican 100N from the 1940s, and newer models from the Sheaffer. We have a Sheaffer Touchdown Statesman from the beginning of the 1950s. It has this beautiful cigar shape. Also the famous Mont Blanc Meisterstück from the beginning of the 50s. This model is 146. And in the end, we have a beautiful Pelican from the 50s. This is the 100 model, Gruner dark green fountain pen, also in an elegant book cigar shape. So these are the fountain pens side by side. You can see that the Sheaffer Jade Green from the 1929, the Balance one, is quite a long fountain pen. I will leave its dimensions on the screen. And next, we will have the writing sample. Remember that I don't have a sack, so I will simply dip this in ink and we'll try a writing sample to show you guys how it performs, how it writes. So stay tuned for the writing sample. Welcome back to the writing sample. As usually for the vintage fountain pens and all my fountain pens, I prefer this lubricated Parker Quink ink. I will just give it a shake. Like I said, I will only dip this beautiful nib in the ink. Okay. Always close your ink bottle to avoid accidents. And now let's see how it performs, this beautiful, beautiful Sheaffer. Let us see. Of course, I want to mention that these Sheaffers from the 1930s have a quite stiff nib. Let's see how it writes. So this is a Sheaffer Balance Lifetime Jade Green from 1929. This is of course an early model. It was produced between 1929 and 1941. Okay, it has a beautiful, beautiful 14 karat gold nib. Let's see some line variations. You can see this is a stiff, it has no flex, but it feels great. I believe this is an F nib or even an extra fine nib. So extra fine. It has a certain feedback to it. It is quite nice. It isn't scratchy, no. I wouldn't call it a smooth nib, but it rides quite nice. Quite nice, quite nice. You can see. Thank you for watching this review with the beautiful, beautiful fountain pen, which revolutionized world of the fountain pens. If you don't have this example in your collection, believe me, try to buy it now when it's still cheap. Of course, there isn't comparison between the European models and the American models. The American models are made in far much more numbers. So this is why you can still find this fountain pen at a reasonable price. Some people don't like the lever fillers, but you can't say no to this beautiful color of the celluloid. I don't know people that don't like this color. So this is a popular color. Unfortunately, the discoloration is still a problem on these fountain pens. But if you find yourself an NOS one with the beautiful original color, I think that that piece would be a great investment for you because the price is going up, up, up. As always, I wish you to have a nice day and thank you for watching this video. Bye bye.